When a girl cools down, men try to rekindle the fire, only making things worse. A psychologist's opinion. Have you ever wondered why, when a girl starts to pull away, we rush to get her back to how things were? Let me try to explain why the vast majority of men act this way. Strangely enough, it all comes down to the word cool down. The male brain is very logical. What do we picture? A campfire that's starting to die out. And what does our brain suggest? Just add more firewood and everything will be fine. What kind of firewood do we use? We feel the need to throw something in, and here we start to choose our firewood. Some toss in gifts, compliments, an insistent desire to be close, apologies, promises to change, clinginess, and so on. Some even pour gasoline on the fire by starting conflicts, which are followed by passionate reconciliations. Let's start with the firewood. What you're throwing in is wood that's been soaked by the rain. The rain has passed, the fire starts to go out, and without much thought, we grab whatever wood we can get, even if it's all wet, and throw it into the flames. Naturally, the fire just dies out faster. The rain here means mistakes, conflicts, and other catalysts that reduce your significance. It extinguishes the fire and soaks the wood. When your significance drops, even the firewood that used to stoke the flames now has the opposite effect. You should visualize this example to understand what your obsessive actions do to the fire of your relationship. This is what always happens. After the rain passes and the fire needs oxygen, we end up blocking the natural process, gasoline. After the firewood doesn't help, we start to think, what else can I do? That's when we remember, we can pour gasoline on it. This is when conflicts and relationship talks start. After the conflicts, there might be a passionate makeup, but you already know the effect of gasoline. It creates only a momentary flare, a brief bright fire that immediately fades out. All of this just squeezes the last bit of life out of an already broken relationship. After pouring on too much gasoline, you realize not only is the wood wet, but now it also stinks, and black smoke is billowing out. We get disappointed, eventually saying, I did everything I could to save the relationship, but couldn't. At least I tried, but nothing worked. Now ask yourself, can you picture what you're doing with all the firewood and gasoline? This is the standard kit of a relationship restorer that almost every man uses or has used before. Wind. The fire needs wind. After the rain, when the fire almost died down, but some embers are left, oxygen and wind can rekindle those coals. You could simply let go of your constant need for control and let nature take its course. You step back and give the other person oxygen, not breaking up, but not being clingy either. You offer them freedom and time to rest. After the rain, the wind blows away the clouds, and you see a tiny flame that grows stronger. At a certain point, you notice the wood is dried up, and when you add it, the fire really starts to burn again. These are the real crisis management techniques you need when someone has started to distance themselves from you, not firewood and gasoline. Thank you. Why are we afraid not to reply to an ex's message? A psychologist breaks the myths of relationships. Hi there. Today, let's talk about a stage I've discussed in earlier videos. A breakup has happened, some time has passed, and suddenly, the girl who 2 months ago wanted nothing to do with you sends you a simple, hey. She writes to you on her own. No one forced her, no gun to her head. Of course, men are shocked. It's working. You backed off, she regained her balance, and now she finds herself wanting to message you. And so she does. It almost feels supernatural. But understand this. Simply backing off from someone who has decided to leave you is one of the most rational things you can do. And in a sea of irrational behavior, rationality stands out and increases your perceived value. That's why after a period of repulsion, her urge to write to you makes perfect sense, as long as you acted the right way. Why do we feel the urge to reply? And how do we resist it? If you follow my channel, you already know. Don't reply to the first message. It's weak and doesn't carry any real intention. But why is it so hard to resist replying? In fact, 30% of people usually give in and start talking again. That urge comes from our own inner neediness. No matter how well you hide it behind illusions, that's what it is. Nothing but emotional dependence can drive you to chase after someone who betrayed the relationship. In this context, yes, your ex-girlfriend betrayed you and the relationship. What do our illusions tell us? She wrote because she feels guilty and wants to fix things, but doesn't know how. But think, if that were true, she would say so. You underestimate her. If she truly realized she needed you urgently, she would gladly tell you. She'd say she's rethought everything and now realizes she loves you. That's not what's happening here. So stop telling yourself it is. Her message should just be one link in a long chain of actions. You see the message and think, okay, things are moving. My value is rising. Let it keep rising. Then you go back to living your life. If you have a life, of course. If you don't, then the message turns into a whole drama, and you feel you must respond. But if your attention is elsewhere, both you and she will feel her value to you dropping, while your value to her rises. She's not a goddess. She has her own illusions that shape her behavior. She saw you as needy, weak, not a man, and now realizes she may have been wrong. Suddenly, she sees that you do have willpower, goals, and don't even seem eager to talk to her. And what happens then? She becomes fully aware of the damage she caused, and she's now ready to take steps to repair it. That won't even hurt her pride. What would hurt her pride is if she destroyed the relationship, tried to fix it, and ended up being humiliated. But if her actions are truly aimed at restoring the relationship, they won't damage her ego. This is for those who say, she's too proud. She's proud only when she can afford to be. That's when you're still dependent on her, when she knows she's your master. That's the role she plays. And in that role, she stays proud. But what if she forgets me? What if this is my last chance to fix everything? Don't think for a second that you can restore everything on your own. You can't. You never could. The only person who can truly restore a broken relationship is the one who broke it. When she broke it off, she placed you in a position of neediness. From that position, all you can do is look up to her. You even help her maintain this imbalance by chasing her, by investing in her emotionally. Don't think you can change anything while remaining needy. To get results, you must change your position, change yourself, and stop acting that way. Then, and only then, she might come back to you. All the tools you need are on this channel. Watch the videos and leave a comment if you're unsure what to do next to avoid making mistakes. If you've been dating her for, say, 3 years, don't think she'll forget you in 2 weeks. First, she forgets all the negativity. Then she starts feeling nostalgic and remembering the good moments. Only after years does she slowly begin to forget you, and even then, the process is very slow. When should you respond? Actually, I'd rather say when not to respond. If you still think your reply might change everything, or that this is your last chance, you're still too weak to engage with her. When her message feels like just a message, not a source of hope or drama, then you can consider replying. But first, rebuild yourself. Only then should you think about restoring lost resources like the girl. That's how it works. There is no other way. 5 strange signs that a girl is about to break up with you. The first sign is that you've opened this video. Uncertainty about what's happening. You want to know some clear indicators that a woman is about to take such a step. There really are some alarming signals, and I'll describe them starting from point 2, since we've already covered the first one. 2. Renewing connections with old friends or acquaintances. She lost touch with while dating. Of course, you shouldn't be paranoid. If your girlfriend hasn't talked to a friend in a long time and suddenly decides to reach out, it's too soon to jump to conclusions. What I'm really talking about are situations where a girl starts trying to fill her time and build a social circle around herself. She often does this unconsciously, Perhaps the thought of breaking up has already occurred to her, but she's pushed it away. At this point, she also starts to realize that you take up most of her time, and if she ends up alone, she'll probably be bored. That's why she begins to prepare the ground, so to speak. This can actually be presented in a very sweet way. I don't really have any girlfriends, so I was thinking about changing that. 3. Constant anxiety when you're alone versus euphoria. When you're with her. What's most paradoxical is that this feeling haunts you when your girlfriend isn't around, but disappears when she's with you. It's very hard to connect this anxiety directly to your girlfriend. What's happening here? In a relationship, there's a so-called channel through which you and your girlfriend exchange energy. When the relationship is new, your mood is elevated whether she's around or not. You know everything is fine because the channel is open and you feel the energy flow. But when there are shifts or disruptions in this channel, you start receiving less energy or a different kind, which makes you tense. When you're with your girlfriend, you see that everything seems fine and can calm your mind. But this pattern repeats. It's important to recognize that something is happening with the channel at this time. And if the main feeling is anxiety, that's a sign things are changing for the worse. 4. Sudden desire to work on the relationship and invest more. If throughout the relationship you've been, say, investing 80%, but now you're suddenly thinking about investing 160%, and this change didn't happen gradually but all at once, that's a reason to reflect. Nothing in our lives happens for no reason, especially so abruptly. Most likely, on a subconscious level, you can sense that your girlfriend is pulling away. The subconscious catches things your conscious mind misses. For example, perhaps she used to write to you and always included 5 emojis, but now it's just 1. That's just an example. Little things start to change, even if you don't consciously notice them. By the way, overinvesting when your partner is pulling away is one of the biggest mistakes you can make. Check out the video on the channel about how to act correctly in such situations. 5. Wanting to break up, then feeling love and attachment again. If at one moment you decide that it's time to break up because you think she isn't right for you, but 2 days later you're madly in love with her again, this is the clearest sign that you're in a weak position. And at that point, it's only a matter of time before the breakup, unless you change something. In my opinion, these are the signs that aren't mentioned in most articles. Maybe they are, but I just haven't seen them. These are things I encounter in my own practice. Indirect signs like these are more telling than she's pulling away, she's giving me less time, or she's talking to other guys. Those can mean something else entirely. In the next video, I'll talk about what to do if you realize you're in a weak position, because for a man, that can be very dangerous. Which is better, the illusion of getting your girlfriend back or actually getting her back? Sometimes it seems to me that it's actually the illusion. If you ask anyone the question in the title, of course their answer will be to get her back, obviously. But when we don't get results as quickly as we want, and we want them now, some people are even happy with the illusion. That's because we don't know how to wait, and we don't understand time. What is the illusion of getting your girlfriend back? I'll start with an example. Yesterday, 3 people who consulted with me 2 weeks to a month ago wrote to me, and over the past week, their ex-girlfriends wrote to them first. They reached out themselves. The reason is that the men behaved correctly. They didn't impose themselves. They kept their distance from their girlfriends and tried to climb out of the pit. They eliminated any provocation and stopped meddling in their ex-girlfriend's life. In such situations, in my experience, 100% of those who've gone through consultations encounter contact from their girlfriend, provided, of course, that there was a real relationship. But all 3 who wrote to me yesterday messed everything up, even though today, for instance, 3 others wrote and everything worked out for them. Why did that happen? I don't know. Maybe it's because of the number 24. Maybe not. It doesn't matter. The illusion of getting your girlfriend back is the moment when you immediately respond to her first message. Absolutely everyone whose girlfriend writes to them after some time feels the urge to reply, and those who respond fall into the illusion of getting her back. It's the moment when you feel like everything is back to normal, everything is good. She's reaching out, your conversations are long again, maybe you've even agreed to meet up. It's a very deceptive feeling because your significance of your girlfriend hasn't fallen one bit, and that means hers towards you hasn't really risen either. Most often, when your significance drops, you don't want to reply to random nonsense because your self esteem takes its rightful first place and knocks your ex girlfriend off the pedestal. That's the restructuring that leads to results. At a certain point, you'll have your best day, the day you realize that your life belongs to you again. After that day, your ex girlfriend moves toward you with full sails. But if you immediately react to a simple, "Hey, how are you?" or a slightly upgraded, "Hi, I don't know why, but I was thinking about you today," you cut off the positive development of events. When the return is real, it's the moment when you think, "Do I even want this again?" And you have the ability to agree or refuse. The illusion, on the other hand, is a strong emotion when you feel euphoric because the lady needs you again. Why is it an illusion? Simply because the girlfriend doesn't really need you. Too little time has passed, and all she's graciously giving you is a banal, "Hey, how are you?" In this situation, nothing you've read here helps you, and you have to go through the pain again and set yourself back even further. What happens when your girlfriend really wants to come back? She goes on a journey from hating you to the point when your image in her head becomes significant again, and she starts to feel real need for you, not just curiosity. Why only this way? We can think of significance as a single whole in the context of human relationships. You can't have high significance toward your ex girlfriend, and she has the same high significance toward you. You can't have low significance to her, and she has equally low significance to you. If you have low significance for a person, and they have low significance for you, then you don't even become friends. There can be no relationship at all, neither friendly nor romantic. The only exception is when you're in love. Hormones are released, and for a very short time, both people's significance for each other is high. Then, the couple reaches a balance. 100% is divided between the two of you. After that, it all depends on your actions and hers. If her significance toward you is 75%, then yours toward her is 25%, and so on. But some people think that if after half a year, their significance toward the girlfriend is the same as when they broke up, 100%, then hers can also be 100% because of ignoring her and other manipulations. But it doesn't work like that. You've stagnated or regressed in other areas of life. Otherwise, they would have taken some of that significance away from the girlfriend, and the significance would have naturally decreased. Hers would have increased because she'd see that you know how to redirect your energy and significance into other directions. And your energy is strong because it brings you results. But if she sees your energy is of no use to anyone or anything, and also sees the nature of this energy, it pushes her away, even if some curiosity appears, which it usually does. Ladies at the market never sell Gucci. Gucci is sold in boutiques with good lighting, in nice shopping centers, and at good prices. So if, after your breakup, you haven't managed to organically lower your significance toward your girlfriend, then whatever you think about yourself is a lie. You become Tucci or Mucci, but never Gucci. A model for relationship revival. How to win a girl. Back the right way. Friends, today I'll describe the correct behavior model that allows you to win your ex-girlfriend back on your terms, and with a very high probability of success. Imagine the moment before the relationship began, when you could already sense it was about to start. Remember how you felt? Now look at yourself today. During the relationship and after the breakup, you lost yourself. I can guarantee that with 100% certainty. Post-breakup contact. Relationships stay alive as long as there is lightness and ease. You can only re-enter a relationship when that sense of ease is present. You can't tell someone how bad you feel, how many problems you have, how poorly others treat you, and how badly you want to be loved, and expect to hear a yes. Most likely, Your relationship began because things felt easy and good between you. It was mutual. But now the relationship is over because something changed. Yes, maybe it changed because of her behavior. But the fact remains, the ease is gone. And with it, the relationship. After a breakup, 100% of the people who get dumped reach out to their ex. It's a kind of test. You've detached from the person, and they find themselves mentally drifting back into the relationship. And they want to test why. Your goal is to rebuild the relationship. But what do you show during these early conversations? Do you have that same ease you once had? Highly unlikely. You're probably just now climbing out of the emotional hole. And the girl who messages you a month later likely just wants to close the loop and reassure herself that she made the right decision. This is a selfish desire. But people are selfish by nature. If I don't text her, she'll forget me. I hear this excuse all the time, but it's just an illusion you use to justify your urge to chase. In time, her negative emotions fade into the background and only the positive ones remain. If you keep pushing, she'll only feel more confident that the relationship was a mistake. Don't expect any teary-eyed reunions. Every couple is connected by a kind of energetic bond. You are still connected to your ex. In fact, that bond with every serious partner will stay with you for the rest of your life. You can block it or make it weaker, but it will remain. That's why people who've had too many relationships often find it harder to fall in love again. You can't endlessly open that love channel. It's a limited resource. Take the duration of your relationship and remember this. It'll take at least that long for her to begin to forget you at the earliest. Self-respect as the engine. She would never have started dating you in the first place if you hadn't shown some self-respect, or at least the illusion of it. If it was only an illusion, she would have eventually figured it out. But if it was real, the relationship lasted longer and remained stable as long as your self-respect stayed intact. After a breakup, you must regain your self-respect before trying to get her back. Even if you feel like there's a hole where your confidence used to be, and even if she's already reaching out, it's temporary. What should your self-respect say when someone breaks up with you? I was seen as unnecessary. If that's how they see me, I won't feed them my presence. I'm better than that. And if she starts texting you and your self-respect is strong, your thoughts might be, she saw our relationship as a mistake. She saw me as unnecessary. I left her alone. I don't know why she's messaging me now. And until I know why, I have nothing to say. She asked me to leave, and I listened. See how filtering everything through self-respect leads to better results? When you stop chasing, you stop feeding her your energy. Imagine a girl as a child being force-fed porridge. She closes her mouth. She doesn't want it. But starve her for 3 days, and she'll start wanting it even if she doesn't remember why. That's a natural cycle. First, there's excess, and only after some scarcity will the demand appear. If you immediately give her attention when she messages, she realizes the scarcity was all in her head, and she relaxes. No deficit. All is well. Imagine you run out of water. You go to a store, no water. Another store, and still no water. At home, no water. You panic. But in the third store, lots of water. You buy it and go home calm. Now imagine no store has water. That's when real scarcity kicks in. And when you finally see it, you'll buy all of it. That's how this works. When should you respond? You can respond to your ex only when your energy has returned to a normal level. That means you're no longer in the emotional pit. You have a direction and you're moving forward. But even then, don't reply unless she clearly shows steps toward rebuilding the relationship. Don't bother replying to "Hey" or "How are you?" Those should feel like an insult to your dignity. First, you were considered unworthy, and now she wants to casually chat as if nothing happened? Real relationship revival only happens when the girl, once in a strong position, switches to a weaker position and initiates reconciliation. And if you do get back together without this shift, nothing changes. You're still the needy one, and she's still the one who wasn't really that into it. This dynamic won't last. It will hurt your self-esteem and drain your energy. Thanks for watching my videos, friends. How a girlfriend leaving you can actually strengthen her attachment if you act correctly. Let me start by saying, only a certain type of girlfriend, in her mature years, leaves a relationship from a position of strength, and they all share the same personality flaw. These girlfriends tend to claim you as their possession. During consultations, I often notice that men treat their ex-girlfriend like a goddess, but treating someone as your property is a very human flaw. And it's precisely this flaw that becomes the hook, because if you behave correctly, she'll return, but this time from a weaker position. The exact correct behavior depends on each case, something I discuss individually, but there are universal principles that keep the girlfriend hooked, and I explain those in my videos. My girlfriend left, but she doesn't treat me like I belong to her. Here's what I mean. When she leaves, your girlfriend may feel like she's outgrown you. In her mind, you've become an old toy. But here's the trick. She doesn't throw you away. She puts you on a shelf in the closet and closes the doors. To you, it feels the same. The door is shut, and you don't know where she is or where you stand. You don't see her because it's dark in there, and you don't know if she'll ever come back to play with you. So you act from uncertainty. But she knows exactly where you are. She knows she can open that closet door at any time and find you waiting. In her mind, you're like an inanimate object. You don't grow, you don't change. So if she ever gets bored or lonely, she knows where to find you. That's the model many girlfriends follow when ending things. They freeze time in their heads, and even 10 years later, they believe you'll still be standing in that same place, waiting. That's the psychological loophole, and it's where you can actually influence her. Check-ins. Sometimes your ex-girlfriend peeks into the closet to check on her old toys. If everything looks the same, she feels reassured and goes on with her life. You, and maybe others like you, give her a sense of stability and control. She feels safe knowing that if needed, she can just pick you up again. But during the first check-in, you should no longer be in the closet. This is why I always say, don't reply to her initial messages. You're no longer on the shelf. Her message is a roll call, and you must not respond. Right now, she's checking to see if her toy is still in place. So show her the shelf is empty. The girlfriend starts, searching for the missing toy. When you ignore her contact attempts, this roll call, and she realizes you're not where she left you, she starts searching. She wants her property back, to return you to your rightful place. See how easy it is now to understand when to reply and when not to? Right now, she wants you only because you disappeared. You're supposed to be on that shelf, so your absence creates desire. At this stage, she may try to lure you into the friend zone just to get a reaction. Don't reply. Remember, a girlfriend who left you did so from a place of possession. That imbalance, seeing you as hers, is exactly what led to the breakup. And without that possessiveness, the imbalance wouldn't have existed. That fact alone should give you peace, because when she realizes her property is gone, she will look for it. Desperation and nostalgia. When your girlfriend realizes you're no longer in her closet, she starts feeling nostalgic. She remembers how she used to play with you. In those moments, she doesn't remember you waiting in the dark. She only remembers how good it felt to be with you. But you're not a toy. Though after the breakup, you should act like one, silent still. In reality, you're a person, with energy, with the capacity to grow. If you don't respond to her attempts to reconnect, and you build yourself back up, you'll eventually gain the power to grab the fishing rod, and she will be the one on the hook. Why is the girlfriend still emotionally attached? When she left you, she believed your position would always remain weaker than hers. But if she sees that you've changed positions and are no longer below her, she suddenly feels an unresolved emotional gap, a gestalt she needs to close. And she'll chase resolution until she can push you back into that weaker role. But if you behave incorrectly, you confirm that you're still in the weaker position. And she moves on, closing the closet again and playing with new toys. Once you stop showing signs of neediness or weakness, she feels disturbed and confused, and she wants to reset the story. That's your chance. But it only works if you act correctly. If your girlfriend can assess your emotional position, she knows whether you're still on the shelf. If you haven't grown, you'll forever be like Windows XP, outdated. But if you combine emotional detachment and personal growth, you'll see results. Only growth matters. If you grow as a person but still assign her a high emotional value, you'll continue reacting to all her messages. No matter how much you develop, she'll sense that she's still in your pocket. And since she doesn't perceive her own growth clearly, because she lives with herself every day, she'll see your progress as minimal. Her logic is, if I still matter so much to him, then he must have grown less than I have. That's how she sees it. Lowering her value without growth? That's nearly impossible. If her emotional value drops but you haven't truly grown, it usually just means you've shifted your focus to another girl. That might make a return possible, but it won't last. She'll quickly realize you haven't changed emotionally or mentally and decide you're not right for her, especially if she's ambitious. Friends, in this video, I explained the main hook that girlfriends place on themselves without realizing it. For deeper insights into emotional value in relationships, check out other videos on my channel. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment below. A girlfriend leaves only when she's sure. She's bound us strong enough. A psychologist's thoughts. Girlfriends rarely leave at moments when they aren't really needed. Sometimes men think this is the case, but the reality is very different. Our true dependence on them isn't consciously accessible because a girl naturally emits an energy of love that she projects onto us. Sometimes it may seem to us that we don't really need her, but as soon as she distances herself a bit, we immediately realize that's not the case. We rarely understand just how much someone means to us. After all, if we could, breakups wouldn't be such a shock. But if we dig deeper into these processes, we can quite accurately visualize how someone's significance fades. The moment of play. At the start of a relationship, there's a certain ease, an element of play. The girlfriend is interested because you're a new person, and her sense of your significance grows, assuming you don't make obvious mistakes. Then, the channel of love opens and infatuation happens. I go into more detail about this channel and how to work with it on my channel. Subscribe. At this point, everything is interesting, light, unusual, and the relationship develops. In time, infatuation passes. Things are still fun, but now real life begins, the life from which you were temporarily torn away during the period of infatuation. A tendency to dominate. I'm not going to talk about suitable girls. Instead, let's look at those who have a tendency to manage the relationship. The game's over, enough, she says, beginning to try to impose her model of control. It's not worth feeling hatred toward the girlfriend. She, just like you, is a vessel and has spent her whole life filling herself with a certain type of energy. It's her life and her energy that speaks through her. Maybe she had a single mother who worked 5 jobs after her father left, or maybe she never saw a healthy family model. It doesn't actually matter. If she carries this charge within her, you can't retrain her. You have to learn to coexist on mutually beneficial terms. If someone wants to impose their will on you, they need to break you and diminish your self-respect. This can happen either consciously or unconsciously, but it's clear to everyone. It would be naive to think it happens instantly. If she were to say directly that she wants you to submit, you'd just think she's crazy. No, it happens slowly and gradually, and only if you give her the green light. Gaslighting. Gaslight. Imagine you see light and walk toward it, not noticing that gas is filling the room. What is this? Maybe you've encountered it, this persistent feeling of guilt, of not being a real man, of thinking she's suffering with you and she could be happy elsewhere. This feeling arises when a girl provokes you into conflict in a way that her provocation isn't obvious, but in the end, you're left feeling guilty. When reconciling, she innocently says, "See, you realized yourself that you were wrong." And you actually think this and become more attached to her, as though she's putting up with you and your difficult character. But this is just manipulation. Its aim is to subordinate you, to make you submit. You shouldn't fall for it. If you accept it, you'll become inadequate in your own eyes. Conflicts. A girlfriend is supposed to bring love into the house. And when conflict arises, girlfriends usually try to smooth things over, even if they weren't in the right. But not this kind. She stays proud and imperturbable until the very end. And eventually, you get tired, knowing that if you just make the first move to reconcile, everything will be fine. So you do. In these moments, you invest more and more emotional energy into the relationship. And with each time, you get more attached. What about her? She doesn't invest any energy, so she has zero attachment. You think you've endured a lot as a couple through conflict, and you have, but she hasn't. Talking about the relationship. Unconsciously, girlfriends know one simple recipe. If you want to bind a man to you, make him talk about everything he doesn't like, discuss it, and come to some kind of resolution. And as you dedicate more and more time to this, your worldview shifts. You start to think that whenever her behavior isn't to your liking, all you need to do is talk, and everything will be solved. So yet again, more and more of your attention is spent on this. And for you, she becomes more valuable because you've invested so much time in her education. On how to deal with this, I also talk on my channel. Conclusion. A girlfriend leaves only when she's sure she's bound you tightly enough. She knows exactly how much she means to you. So at the time of parting, there's no need to remind her of how much you love her. As long as she isn't completely sure of her own value to you, she won't leave. But once she is, she realizes she doesn't really need to control you anymore. She gets the control she was after, only to realize she doesn't want control at all. She wants to be controlled. And that's when a new chapter begins for her. A relationship in which she'll be under someone else's control. A relationship not with you,